For more on the ANC's January 8 statement, we are joined by political analyst Dr. Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Dr. Breakfast, good evening, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Kwena.
Dr. Breakfast, firstly, before we go to the nitty-gritties of the statement, in general, what did you make of the President's address?
Well, I think he tried his level best to set the agenda for the country in terms of what lies ahead in this year. I think the speech was twofold. On the one hand, it focused on a global scale in terms of our foreign policy posture. And that is extremely important, Kwena, because we don't talk quite often about that in terms of what we stand for with regard to multilateralism, in terms of the restructuring of the UN, in particular the Security Council. He was advocating for some political reforms in that regard. And also in terms of what is happening on the continent with regard to our role to promote peace and stability. And also, Kwena, most importantly, we are going to assume our chairship at the BRICS, so talking about what is going to be our role with respect to that. Domestically, we spoke about, the three security threats: poverty, unemployment, inequality, but there was a great deal of emphasis on unemployment, in particular amongst young people, and he was saying that, the private sector alongside the public sector, they must do away with this requirement of experience when employing young people. I'm not sure how practical is that, but I do support that. And also the slow pace of responsiveness of government with regard to the land question, and the issue of racism, that racism erodes social cohesion and also leads to the breakdown of society. So I think by and large, on the whole, the speech touched on those set of issues.
Let me touch on the issue of racism, as you've just mentioned it now. We saw the president inviting the two young men that were attacked by white people. What did you make of the president and that move? Many are saying, well, a great gesture, but does it solve our issues of racism? Does it send that message?
Well, of course not, but I think that was good because he was honoring those two boys, because they went through hell. What had happened should never have happened to them. So I think that was very symbolic, also in terms of conveying a message that government takes a stand against racism. But there is a whole lot more that needs to be done in addressing the issue of racism. But I think that is a step towards the right direction.
He also spoke about some of the key issues, as you've mentioned. For instance, when it comes to an issue like load shedding, Dr. Breakfast. Yeah. I mean, is the president sending the right message? Because I know that is one big problem that we are all facing as South Africans, but there never seems to be a solution to that. Based on what the president has said, is it something that we should take to heart and say maybe something will be done this time around?
Well, some people think that it's all talk and no action. Because for instance, when he was making a speech, he spoke about the fact that government wants to do away with power outage, but he did not unveil a plan, or there were no specificities. So there was a lack of detail. So I think we want to hear more about that, and also a change for at the better in terms of the organizational culture of Eskom, and also try to fight against what is happening there. I'm not trying to compare apples with pears, but we saw what had happened to the CEO of Eskom. So there seems to be a fight back or a backlash there. There are people who are really doing the exact opposite of what government is trying to do.
The president also spoke about a plan, a 10-year plan that has been developed, a roadmap to define the future of the ANC. How important is that roadmap, considering that many are saying that 2024 is a defining moment for the ANC, which could see a further decline?
Well, that is extremely important, because in the bigger scheme of things, as you indicated, is basically the upcoming general elections, and the possibility that the ANC might lose power is not far-fetched. But my view is that because they also spoke about a new cadre. So my view is that a new cadre of the ANC has to have three things, because it did not touch on this. I'm just expanding on what Ami said. One, a good cadre must have political education. Two, a good cadre must be able to engage in political agitation. Three, a good cadre must be able to engage in propaganda. What do I mean by that? A cadre must be able to propagate what the party stands for. But I think he said all the right things, but the proof of the pudding is in the eating.
And then, of course, there was the issue of the step-aside rule and the issue of corruption and those that continue to commit crimes, if I can put it that way. And many are saying every time we mention that, what are we doing with the Phala Phala issue? Your take on the step-aside and how it might, in the near future or so, affect him regarding the Phala Phala matter?
Well, the step-aside is all well and good, so long as it is not applied to entrench hegemony by a particular faction in the ANC, because I think that is going to escalate the political tensions within the party. I mean, the ANC has been affected in a big way by institutionalization of corruption. So I think that is the background to this principle of a step-aside. But in terms of its application, it has created different understandings and interpretations. No wonder people have questioned it, because those who are aligned to a particular faction, the dominant faction, they tend to be exempted from this step-aside principle. So with regard to Phala Phala, I get the sense that the president has won the political battle, but he has not won the legal battle. I know that he has not been charged formally, but some people are saying that this thing of Phala Phala, it might backfire on government or on the ANC, because the ANC is the embodiment of government. So, it sends a wrong message that the ANC doesn't take a stand against corruption by keeping the president.
On Thursday, we heard David Makura speaking and acknowledging some weaknesses that the ANC has after conference. And also the president today talking about the weaknesses that the ANC has in this regard. Do you think that they have what it takes, Dr. Breakfast, to address those weaknesses and fix them within the next 18 months before the 2024 elections?
Well, time will tell. I think it's still early days, but my view is that the ANC is a political party, and in a political party, people contest power. We must bear in mind that the forces of RET, at some point, they were in power. I don't think that they're going to fold their arms and allow the other faction to do as they please. They're going to contest power, and by so doing, that is going to escalate the conflict. That's the problem. All these conflicts, they revolve around power, because power gives you the access to a whole range of things, access to economic resources, access to political protection. So it's all about power. It's not going to be easy. I think that will demand discipline and political maturity.
Dr. Breakfast, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for making time to speak to us.